today. I said I talked to Deb quite a bit today.
I heard, honestly.
What do you mean you heard? All good stuff.
It's gonna be one.
I didn't.
Yeah, she called me and told me that.
Yeah, we can do that. We
Spend
can
about an hour together.
And then, we're not voting on it.
Oh,
We, if you added it.
She's not a politician.
Direction on the part.
She has no desire.
And
No.
what I would like to do is have.
I don't like it.
Find
Yeah,
out
she doesn't.
whether we
She doesn't
can.
like when people talk to her about what's going on.
Or whether that would interrupt the negotiation.
No, she don't like the web pages or something. That was what was bothering her.
I'll bring that on. Consider like.
The following problem. Well, the letters to the committee. Dated March 23rd, 2023, and reading as follows. The honorable members of the Delaware Board of Commissioners, the opinion of the whole meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners is scheduled for Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. in the conference room of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce Building and the sincerely yours, Mr. Progress, Delaware. Please rise for a word of prayer. As we begin to meeting, we thank you for our many blessings. We ask for your guidance to help our commissioners make decisions in the best interest of the citizens they serve. And Lord, we pray for the safety of our military men and women. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here. 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 Here.
Here.
Thank you for coming tonight. Just an explanation. We have the service center room, which belongs to Michigan Works, on the first and third Tuesday of every month. This falling outside of that venue. This was the only other option that we had. And I would like to thank Ashley and Brandon for, because I know it took some effort on your part to set this up, as well as thanking the chamber. Okay, so we have adoption of tonight's agenda. If it would please the board, would need a motion or.
So moved. I'll support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Melnar, support by Commissioner Peterson, and discussion by Commissioner Byrne.
Yes, this last Friday, we had a meeting of the finance committee, and it was brought up about the airport and the manager and wanting some additional compensation. I said that I wasn't comfortable with what was brought out, and Commissioner Peterson and I are both on that the finance committee meeting. And I said I'd like to bring it before this group. I think that we can bring it before next Tuesday's meeting. It's not something that's urgent. It has to be done right now. And I'd like to put on there on the pertaining to the parks. One thing we have not had a discussion on is if we want the parks to be under the run by the county itself or run by the by a private sector.
So after discussion of the process of hiring a new administrator, you would like item number 2 to be discussion on the parks?
Yes, it should be a short discussion because we have a key question that needs to be answered. So that question we brought up, it should be very short.
I would need a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So move.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion of that? Are you
Well-
okay with it, or should I?
I'm not okay with adding something to this venue when it was supposed to be this, because there may be people that have something to say about the parks and then they might not be here. That's the only thing I'm concerned
Okay.
about.
That, and we don't have that much time. I mean, Commissioner, he's got to go to another meeting for 7, so.
Well, totally up to, so I'll call, is there any other discussion? I don't mean to cut anybody off.
No, that's fine.
Okay, if all those in favor of accepting the agenda the way it is amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
I
Okay, on a 3-2, it passes as discussion on the parks. Communications received, communications forwarded. Do we have any, Ashley?
No.
Okay, we don't have microphones. Oh, I apologize. I do apologize as far as that. We would have a public comment on agenda items. And so we don't have a microphone up, we have a Zoom mic. But we're gonna have to try to project loudly, and I apologize. I don't mean to be hollering at you. If you want to talk about either one of the two items we have, which is the process of hiring a new administrator or an issue on the parks, you have 3 minutes to discuss these agenda items. Anybody? Okay, Joel, please. You want a microphone?
It's not gonna work online. That's the only online mic.
Let's do a little, I only got 3 minutes, so.
We're not taking you.
Hello.
There you go, brother.
Fantastic. My name's Joe Kaplan. Thank you for having me. I'm from Ford River Township. I was at the meeting with Bob Barron. It was a special meeting by the Conservation District, and the two important things, like Bob says, whether or not it's gonna be public or privately managed. And the second part is there's a special election on June 21st. Where there'll be two board positions that are open for election. Everybody who's over the age of 18 and a resident of Delta County has the right to vote in that election for the Conservation District Board. There'll be two positions open. As far as parks and whether or not it should be public or private, one question I would pose to the board is, of all the lengthy discussions that we've had about managing parks and the relationship with the Delta Conservation District, I've never heard once about how much money it costs to run the parks on an annual basis, how much money it costs. And the second part of that is how much money is still held in trust. Having the Conservation District keeps the revenues that are generated through our public lands, through our campgrounds, or two campgrounds, and how much money is in reserve that is ultimately going to be given back to the parks. I've heard Roy said he's going to return every single penny, but no one's ever talked about how many pennies there are. And I think there's a substantial number. So before you make a decision whether or not this should be publicly managed through the county or privately through an RFP, I think it would be good to ask really specific questions about how much it costs to maintain the parks and how much revenue is generated annually by the parks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else wish to take the mic for public comment on agenda items? Out of the two agenda items that we have?
Kelly Wakenholt in the city of Escanaba. I'm thoroughly confused here. At the last county commissioner meeting, it was motioned and supported that tonight's committee of the whole meeting would have one agenda item only. And that would be the job description for the new administrator. Everybody here is here for the one item, and that's the job description of the new administrator. I'd like to know if this is a violation of your procedures, because if it is, there are people paying attention. When you say things, people trust you and believe you that you are telling the truth. So I would just like to remind you of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to talk to the board regarding agenda items, the two that we have? Going once? Going twice? Anybody on Zoom? Oh, very good. I apologize for the confusion. Communications received and forwarded. Ashley, anything?
No.
Very well. Then we have nothing under old business, and we'll start right away with discussing the new business of job description. Commissioners, anybody wish to start?
I can.
Commissioner Peterson?
I've gone over this job description several times. Just recently, not to mention earlier. And I really don't see a lot of things that need to be changed on it, in my opinion. The only thing I can think that I saw on here that I would like to see changed is I would like it to include the private sector. There's a lot of good experienced people in the private sector. We don't necessarily have to hire from the private sector, but we, as was brought up before, in casting the bigger net, we might get more applicants and, possibly get a better applicant by putting out the private sector. Otherwise, I think the old, job description is acceptable to me.
Commissioner?
I noticed on it, first thing is position. It used to say county administrator / finance. And the finance is now off it.
Would that be something you'd like to see added on?
I would like to see that added on. But on this one, it says,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I pulled up the old one that I
Yeah.
got when I first became a commissioner.
So instead of finance, would you like chief financial officer or just finance?
Right
just
here,
fine.
that's what it says.
What does it say, sir? I can't see.
Position, job description, Director of Administration and Finance.
Okay, very good. Commissioner View, you're next in line.
Next in line,
For what? To speak if you'd like. Or Commissioner Barron, if you're not ready.
I,
Well, we were supposed to go over this thing kind of paragraph by paragraph or line by line.
Commissioner Mellor, would you read it, please, or would you, that or Mr. Peterson, start from the beginning and start with the first paragraph?
If anybody's got any problems, we can go with that. Or you can just say general comment, says commentary. If anybody's got a problem with that section, we can change any line of it or any wording. If not, we can let it go and go on to the next, which would be finance.
I would like to do the qualifications first because I think that is the most important part. A lot of this
Okay.
stuff is boilerplate, but I think we have
Okay.
an issue with the qualifications.
I would concur, Commissioner. I think that's where where the road might split a little bit, but And-
I'll read what we have in this.
that'd be great. Appreciate it.
Education, master's degree in business or public administration or closely related field with specialization in accounting and or management. Requires 3 to 5 years of relevant experience, preferably with a government entity to the size similar to the county. There's no specific thing that says private entity or anything, and I don't think we need it in there because people will apply with this description that could have them type of abilities. But it specifically shows that master's degree, public administration. And if you look at, here's what I go by. I talked to Michigan Works, and the biggest thing about private industry, the private sector performance is measured by profitability. While performance measured in the government needs to focus on the achievement of outcomes, and the outcome is for the people.
Okay,
And that's what a master's degree teaches people. They say experience and education is important. Education is where you gain the knowledge. And experiences allows you to put this knowledge into practice. I'm not a philosopher on hiring people or doing all this stuff, but I do trust the people that are knowledgeable and have done this time and time again. A matter of fact, Michigan Works, if we need any help, they got 4 pages here where they'll walk us through the whole step, and it's very detailed.
Mr. Barron?
Yes, see that what I have in my iPad reads under qualifications. This is on agenda items that were sent to us, bachelor's degree in business or public administration or closely related field with specialization in finance or management. Then it goes on a master's degree or experience equivalent in related field. I don't believe there has to be an emphasis on a master's degree to even apply for this. I think the bachelor's and related experience, will suffice for what we need in getting rolling here. It requires, under experience, requires 5 years of relevant government experience, preferably with a government entity of size similar to the county. They differ with Commissioner View that government, would do well to have the experience that comes from the private sector on earning profitability. Reality is that, profits are, something is profitable from an action taken. But it doesn't, we tend to make that strictly dollars and cents. That's not the reality of profit, and it should be something that we're actually doing in government anyway. Because we're making an effort, and you keep putting forth the people, the effort that we put forth is for the service of the people. That's a profit. So the private sector, I feel, is being maligned here, when without it, the government can't exist. Nonprofits can't exist without the profit sector. Government can't exist without the profit sector, because profit sector generates the wealth that the government uses confiscatory taxes on to take from the wealth that they generate. So I putting those specs in, those specifications in there, I don't do us any favors here. I'm strongly an advocate of the private sector experience coming forth, because it's coming from the area that we're dependent upon. And also the bachelor's degree, you get an education, or at least what we call an education, and some even question that nowadays, but the experience that you get after that education, that's just a foundation, that's a basis, that's a starting point. When you get a degree, a bachelor's, and I have a number of different degrees, but that's just getting you starting down the route. What you learn afterward, in experience and what you're doing, are what is really truly where your education really comes from. Because someone straight out of college, or what have you, is going to have to start gathering that information on how to even run a place. That the education just begins when they get into the workforce. It isn't that you got the education, because if that were the case, then we wouldn't have to have so many IT people, or not IT, but well, we'd have to have IT. But I mean, I'm talking about human resources, people breaking in employees. I've had employees, they can have a degree, but you still got to take them in and train them, and they actually get the real education starting there. So, yeah, as far as this requires 5 years of relevant government experience, well, I would just clear that right out. Right, we want 3 to 5 years of relevant experience, not government or anything else. Just clean it right up. As far as degrees, they have a bachelor's degree it can be business, public administration. It can be in the financial aspect of it. We have a whole area of finance, and that's 3/4 of the job of an administrator. So that's a way to something that we need. Also, they need to work in personnel. So those are all areas that they can go into. To narrow it down is narrowing down the pool, and it's driving us towards an experienced area that we need to have experience coming in.
Gentlemen, I have 2 master's degrees, and I would submit to you that the best administrator that I ever worked with was Ryan Bergman. He came from the private sector, and I believe he had a bachelor's degree. The board could state that if we had a candidate that we liked with a bachelor's degree, we could urge or insist that they go for a master's degree if it's that important to. The degree is fine. It puts people through some steps, and they learn from it. But inevitably, what we're deciding is how we want to cast our net, because knowing the 5 of you, I mean, when we do our interviews, it's going to be basically how somebody interviews that you're going to bond with or that you won't like. I believe that we cast the net far and wide and see what we come up with. If Ryan Bergman was to apply again, he didn't have a master's degree. I would accept, not knowing, of course, the future. I would accept a guy like that if I thought he was pertinent and or a woman, if they had the qualifications. But I don't want to exclude anybody that might be an excellent candidate with a bachelor's just simply by mandating a master's, where we could put the caveat in there that we would require them to begin work on a master's program. I would ask you simply to consider that as a possibility. That's all. Anybody?
We've had this in one job description. I think the old The old one was back in 2011. And we hired Ryan Bergman off that. We also. The only thing we actually changed on this is 3 to 5. It used to be 3 to 5, and now it's 5. And by what I'm hearing from the board is you're really, really pushing private sector for some reason. And I think we need more government-minded people to run our government.
Mr. Peterson, I duly noted, sir.
I'm not really pushing to have a private sector person. I'm pushing to bring in as many people as we can. And so we've got a wider, a bigger pool to draw from. Pick the right person for the job, and I would hate to have the perfect person that did come out of the private sector, not apply because we won't look at them because they're not government. I think by going government, we're just narrowing that pool way down to and cutting out possibilities. And as far as the education, probably not the right place to talk about, but I'm gonna talk about my dad a little bit. He had a GED. He was a tool and die engineer for a shop. He went to a conference and they asked him to get up and speak. My dad said, I have a GED, what do you want me to do? They said, you talk for 15 minutes, you'll start enough arguments to last an hour and you'll win every one of them. And he was in a room full of doctorates in metallurgy. And he's talked for 15 minutes, started enough arguments, and he won every one of them. Not saying that a master's or a doctorate or a bachelor's degree is not important. But there are a lot of people out there with knowledge that they got through their personal lives that are important also. And as far as the private sector, same thing. You say that they're not outcome oriented. The private sector is very outcome oriented. They have to, depending on, of course, what they're doing, they have to please the government because they got to deal with governments. They've got to please this public because they got to deal with public, and they've got to run an efficient business to make profit. Those are all things I think that are very important in what we're looking for. Not that the county necessarily is to make a profit, but coming at it that mindset, they're going to be very frugal if we get the right person, and they're going to help keep the government upright. So, and like I said, I think the more restrictions we put on this, the narrower the pool of candidates we're going to get, the less chance of us getting a very good candidate to step into this.
Commissioner Fu?
I just disagree 100%. I want a narrow pool. I want the best candidates for the citizens. I do not want people coming in that have no knowledge of how the government works, how the public sector works, how to treat employees. Because in the private sector, if you don't like somebody, they're gone. Here, you have services and everything that work, even at a loss. Sometimes business owners in the private sector have a hard time dealing with that, and they'll start making decisions to try not to have that loss. But government runs on a loss. You just, we'll subsidize other programs of services for the community of citizens with other programs that are making money to keep things going.
If I may, I don't think anybody in this county wants to see this government run at a loss. And I think.
Well, it's not a loss. I don't look at it as a loss.
Well,
Bob.
if we're spending more money than we're taking in, then it's a loss.
Well, there is a lot of services that don't take in enough money to do the service. There's grants and there's other things. Michigan Works told me the main thing is keep your pool small to the highest qualified people for your county. You don't want to cast a net, like our chair says, to get everybody coming in. You have a lot of screening to do, and there's a lot of stuff that's gonna distract you from having your best pool of candidates, having that description that brings in the talent. And if it's from the private sector also, because it says or relevant experience. With the degrees and relative experience, so it does open it up quite a bit.
I would like to respond to Commissioner Melner's point about, I am not hell bent on making sure that we get somebody in from the private sector. I just don't want to exclude it. And so, you know,
Round two then.
you
First round, get the best.
know,
Put it out for the best.
and I think that is even subjective, what is the best? But that's fine. We'll work our way through it. Gentlemen, do you have any other? We can't, obviously, we're not voting tonight because it's committee of the whole meeting, but we are discussing for information. And this vote will be brought up on the 4th of April. So does anybody, any other commissioner have commentary or discussion, or Commissioner Melner, was you like to talk about any other point within the job description?
On qualifications, or are we moving on to,
Is there anything you want to add to qualifications? Let's see here.
Before we move away from qualifications, commissioners, is there anybody that would like to state anything or reiterate anything or question anything?
Can we just, can we just have a show of hands of how many people?
No,
No.
we got some questions,
That's fine. We can have questions. But
Over here.
Come and get us.
Nancy?
I just want to point out that you can't go make recommendations to the board.
Okay, so
Final decision.
thank you. It is, I'm that's glad you're a parliamentarian. So yeah, you were right then. Okay, we could,
Well, I was told we can ask what we're gonna vote. We
Well,
just
we-
can't vote.
we could vote to make a recommendation to the full board. You know,
I don't even want to do that. I just want to see where we stand.
well, the only way we could do that is by making a vote to make a recommendation. So I mean, somebody would have to make a suggestion, not a motion, that we can, you know, I guess the question is, would you tolerate public and private? And
Let's vote on the qualifications we have here. What is it again, John? Read the qualifications.
Bachelor's degree in business or public administration or closely related field with specialized in finance and or management, master's degree in experience equivalent or in related field.
I have a question on that to Ashley. We changed that, correct? And remember, we switched that around. It was masters and we had it, I had it backwards.
Yeah, and we put and.
Pardon? But that's exactly.
And I think that master's degree, and it's supposed to be an experience,
5 years.
yeah. And then the experience requires 5 years.
Here's what happened in the personnel committee from my perspective. I made the recommendation, masters preferred and bachelors, whatever it says, what does it say?
Can't remember.
Well, I put masters, I mean, the bachelors ahead of masters, not knowing what the degrees meant. I'll admit, I didn't know.
that's fine. So when you mean that you said a bachelor's was,
Was preference over
Okay.
a master's because it was a higher degree.
you make a mistake, it's okay, you're human.
No, and then I didn't know if we had another personnel committee or what, and I said, we need to change that because it's the master's degree that's the higher, that's the one that has the experience in a lot more finances. When you go to that master's degree, you get all the analytic stuff of finances and that.
If you
Ashley's
stipulate,
looking up the minutes.
pardon me, sir?
I think Ashley's looking up the minutes. of
So,
what we discussed.
As I see it, the question is, first of all, will you accept candidates with a bachelor's degree? Or are you stipulating only master's degree candidates? Would that be a fair question? And then the second question would be, is the amount of time? Would you look at 5 years or 3 to 5 years? And then the third is public or private. Would you allow private? So there's 3 contention points here under qualifications that should be looked at and discussed as far as what we would recommend onto the full board.
Well, I have master's degree in business.
Okay.
That can be private or public administration. That's 2 different areas.
Yep.
Or closely related field with specialization in accounting and or management. So that covers both degrees,
Can I
private,
ask,
private and public, accounting and management. It really covers everything.
it covers both degrees? Masters and bachelors?
Master's degree in business or public administration or closely related field.
Right.
The experience though, see, that's the education. We can put a bachelor's degree in there with the same heading, business and public administration. But the experience would have to be at a higher level than what a master's is. You know what I'm saying, John?
So
You mean you're looking at 5 to 8 years experience?
No,
instead of-
3 years with the masters,
5
with-
years with the bachelors?
5 years with the bachelor's. Bachelor's degree in public administration is entry level.
Right.
That means somebody starting out, maybe have a year experience or something, they're coming in.
All right, gentlemen, would you, not,
And,
ahead.
and it doesn't eliminate the business sector.
Mr. Brown?
Well, I would just change that to minimum of a bachelor's degree using business or public administration or closely related field with specialization in finance and or management, and throw out the master's part at the end, minimum, so that takes care of that. And then requires it under experience requires 3 to 5 years of experience. And end it right there. Keep it simple.
Commissioner Peterson, Commissioner Melner?
Finish.
Okay,
You making that a motion?
I'm
No,
gonna
we
make
can't
that
make
motion.
motions.
no, but you can.
Recommendation.
be
Well, it's a
suggesting.
motion for a suggestion.
Yeah.
We can vote on that, correct?
A motion to recommendation to the board.
The board's gonna
So
recommend.
what
to the
we're
board.
doing is not binding today. It's.
No, I know.
Okay, I'm just trying to help
I just
you.
want to see where the vote is.
So could you repeat your suggestion for moving on to the full board?
Okay, I would make the motion that the minimum of a bachelor's degree in business or public administration or closely related field with specialization in finance or management.
Could you repeat that slower, because.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nancy's gonna be going like a bat out of heck. Sorry.
Okay, Nancy, a minimum of the other education, a minimum of a bachelor's degree in business or public administration or closely related field with specialization in finance or management. And the other part of it is under experience, that the minimum of 3 to 5 years of experience.
Would you please read that back when you have it? So he knows.
Of a bachelor's degree in business or public administration or closely related field with specialty in finance or management.
Is that,
With 3 to 5 years.
Commissioner, does that
Yes.
represent your suggestion?
That's it.
Do you have a
Thank you.
suggestion? Do you have a second to that suggested motion?
So we're eliminating masters completely?
Well, we're gonna vote on it.
No, I don't think we're eliminating the masters completely. We're just not making it a
Recommendation.
stipulation of, people with master's degrees obviously can apply. We're just letting people with bachelor's and subsequent experience apply as well. So the masters still would be, in my opinion, given preference, but
You could have them both though.
yes.
Yeah, it doesn't, what you're setting is the minimum. We're tending to complicate this thing way more than needs to be complicated. You set the minimums that you need and you take the applications that you receive, and that's why you review the applications and you rate them accordingly.
So I have a motion on a suggestion. We would need a second to proceed with it.
I would. With a statement, I would, let me make a statement. Like we're saying, this is the minimum. If we get somebody that comes in and they've got a master's degree and they got 5 years and it's all in the government, and we're of course going to take that.
Yes.
So we're just, I don't agree with making a very narrow net. I just don't. It can cut, we could wind up cutting somebody out that would be very, very good.
This expands the net, I think.
Yeah, so I would second passing this on, Commissioner Barron's onto the board.
Commissioner, okay, so you have a motion on a suggestion. We have a second on the suggestion. Additional discussion on this suggestion.
Only that if you do have this minimum qualifications, we may be leaving out someone with a master's that probably
We-
doesn't want to apply.
Well,
We-
that would be a personal choice.
Right,
We're not gonna
because-
leave anybody out, though.
You would though. People would look at this and say, I'm overqualified. I don't want to come into a job overqualified. I'm telling you, it will happen
I have a master's, 2 master's degrees, and
in public administration.
yeah, I'm not equivalating what I'm doing to that. I'm talking about the actual degree itself. Somebody with a master's degree wants the job, they're gonna apply for it.
Not everybody do.
Oh,
Well, I can't argue it because I don't know.
Well, I mean,
And then we're on the same boat. We are leaving somebody out if we don't put masters in there.
well, we can, so we can change, we can
Okay.
amend your motion, to say bachelor's or master's.
No, it's the minimum. If someone applying can't understand that this is a minimum, then they shouldn't be applying in the first place. And probably wouldn't rise too high on the level of an interview.
Well, I want the best for the county.
So do we, so
So do I.
you want to amend your motion to put bachelor's and the master's in?
Okay, we'll head down the road of complication. We don't need the complication. Make it simple. It's not simple per se, but it minimizes. This is what it is. And those that are going to apply, will look at that, or those looking at it will determine whether they're going to apply or not. If they don't feel that they'd be qualified coming with a master's, that's their decision. And they wouldn't be looked at for the job. But if they're looking for a position like this, they're going to put their application in. It's I've been through this a few times. A lot of people put their applications in for these jobs. The different jobs that I've CEOs, presidents of colleges. Yeah, I've been through all those. And you don't put the standards way high. You put them, here's the minimums, and they apply. No, it's not leaving anybody out, because if somebody decides they don't want to put their name in, you're not leaving them out. They made that decision.
Additional discussion, commissioners.
How about if we do this? At least a bachelor's degree.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It's minimum. It's
Minimum.
Same thing.
Yes, okay, yep, same thing.
Okay. And Commissioner Mellon, Commissioner View? Okay.
There's nothing I can say without just arguing with you.
Sure. Clerk Prisraki, could you please read the motion? We have a suggestion and then just do read the motion, please.
Moved by Commissioner Barron, seconded by Commissioner Peterson, to recommend for a bachelor's degree.
A minimum of a bachelor's.
Minimum of a bachelor's degree in business or public administration or closely related field with specialty in finance or management with 3 to 5 years experience.
All right, gentlemen, there's the motion of the suggestion onto the full board. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed.
Oppose.
Okay, duly noted. Okay, now let's move on to something other than qualifications within this, commissioners.
I don't know if we all have the same job description.
There's several of them in there.
Yeah,
Well, within the board materials for this, I would think that each of us has that one that's under.
I think everything else under the finance and accounting procedure is good. Do we have the right one? Specific duties and responsibilities? Right there.
Yeah.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs.
A1, a PDF.
I don't have these,
That's
I
fine.
just have. Chief Financial Officer. Preparation of budgets. To the commission, basically, right?
Yep.
Coordinates all accounts, budgeting activity of the county, periodic reviews county's accounting system.
Mm.
Nobody has issue with that. Serves as coordinator with the Board of Commissions. Selects independent auditors. Monitors financial laws and regulations that impact the county, coordinates efforts of affect personnel to ensure compliance. Serves as liaison to Michigan Treasurer. That's all good.
Yeah, it's all boilerplate.
I think the rest of it's pretty good.
Yeah, just go through it real quick and see. You said it was gonna be a quick meeting. How come we had master's degree in business and that before? So we're just downplaying that a little bit. Instead of the highest, we're doing a minimum.
I think we're opening the net and giving someone else with a lower degree the chance to apply. Doesn't mean that we necessarily will even interview them. It would be based on the pool of applicants who respond.
I just want to check one other county. But John Melner looked up and gave me. Just to see what their qualifications were. If I could, just give me. a minute.
I think they're both,
Both what?
I think they got masters on both of them.
Well, I just want to see, just because this isn't an official vote, that means we can still think about it.
It's simply a suggestion.
Working title, okay, this is, here it is. Let's see what they have, supervisor, this is what you gave me. Knowledge, skills. Master's degree in public administration, business administration, or related fields. 8 years of professional, progressively responsible experience in senior level administration, managerial and supervisor capacity. That's another county. That's what it's pretty,
County is that?
sir.
That's where he was raised.
Executive exempt. Would you send me, John? This is,
I say it's 3 of them. It either has to be Fulton, Marquette, or Chippewa.
all they have is county administrator on top. There's. Like I said, I have documents that came that doesn't
see it.
specify Delta County on top, so I question.
That
it.
almost sounded like Marquette.
Well, I just want to let you know that
Mhm.
this is some,
And all 3 of them are pretty much the same.
and to open it up for other people, this would be in your job description. Here's the last line that I think is pretty important. Any satisfactory combination of education, experience, and training may be substituted for the above public sector experience preferred. Any combination of anything. I like that statement. You know, we can, to put at the end of that job description.
Please repeat that, sir.
They give their description of what they want for qualifications, minimum experience. This is minimum experience and training, but they said any satisfactory combination of education, experience, and training may be substituted for the above public sector experience preference.
I don't have a problem with that at all. Commissioner,
So wait, you want to add that to them?
we could make an addendum to that, sure. Would that be your suggestion?
Yeah.
Could you repeat that? We have an addendum to the suggestion, so could you please?
We're not
repeat?
voting on it. any satisfactory combination
So
of,
why don't you just take the page over to. say that-
That looks good.
Okay,
I'll bring it to you.
don't beat me in the head with that thing, please.
I'd like to.
He said we'd come in and you did elbow.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
yeah, that's fine. I've been hitting the head hard.
No, no.
Call, yeah, like us, support.
Actually, it was just another statement I thought would enhance a little bit about what we did. It's any satisfactory combination of education, experience, and training may be substitute for the above public sector experience preferred. So it's giving the commission a little bit of option to say, hey, this guy's got a lot of experience here, up here. Not that I want to give us too much.
So is that the motion of your suggestion? To add,
Yeah.
so we have a motion to add that addendum.
I would support that.
So we have the motion and the support. Additional discussion
We're just voting on that
to make the
addition,
suggestion.
not the first part.
Okay.
I mean, for support, because you already got support on that 3-2. This is just for that addition on. there.
Agreed.
Okay, the last part of that, Commissioner, could you reread that last part, please? About the public,
Be substituted for the above public sector experience preferred.
Public sector.
It just says it's preferred,
But-
public sector experience preferred. It's two different little statements.
right, but I just, hopefully it's not in conflict with our simplified one, because it's almost sounding like we want public experience.
Preferred. This is where you can have the private, but you prefer if they have, if they, you know what I'm saying? It's just a preference.
I, for one, have no preference, public or private. I would welcome them both.
It would be,
Sorry, I, for one, would have no, I apologize sincerely. I, for one, I don't want to be passing a mic around. That could get old. But if you want to, I mean,
Just for Bob.
okay, there you go, Commissioner.
uh,
I was gonna say.
Just,
oh,
yeah,
people hear me.
point out.
it was on.
It's on now, so
All right,
you're Elvis.
okay, where it says public sector preferred, I would just remove the word preferred. It makes it sound like that's preferred.
So we'll bring it closer.
All right, where it says, well, where it says, that last part, it says public sector preferred. I would remove the word preferred. Because that's sort of counter to what we just put in the minimums.
Public and private sector, well, that's. I don't have a preference for public or private. I would welcome them both.
Yeah, and that's fine. We're just saying that it,
I don't think, if I may, I don't think saying public sector preferred. It
hurts us.
It's kind of like the bachelor's degree or whatever. It's preferred, but we're not telling them not to come.
Well, then why are we putting it in there? See, if we're putting a lien on this thing, why have anything? Keep it neutral.
To get the best qualified candidate with the highest degree possible that has some knowledge in public entities. That's why we're doing this.
I think what Commissioner Barron is saying, though, it casts a light that we would have a preference over public than private. And I think we should hold both of them neutral. My opinion only.
So
I respect your
I would
opinion.
say that remove the word preferred, and I think it's fine.
We just public sector?
Well.
Experience.
Experience in replacing the public sector. It's not, well, read it again. It sounded, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's two items.
Oh,
The last thing is just basically public sector experience preferred. That's it. That's one statement along with the original statement that I think we all agreed to. Any satisfactory combination of education, experience, and training may be substitute for the above qualifications we put forward. And then after that, it just says public sector experience preferred. That means anyone that comes in, we would qualify somehow, but it's just preferred.
Well, that's the point, is not, what you, the first part of the statement is, I think, good, but it's the last part of it that puts a bend on this thing. I just soon see it neutral.
Well, let's just,
Commissioner,
Preferred sounds good. Doesn't mean we're going to just pick that. It just means that we prefer that. Public. Instead of private.
so commissioners, what is your pleasure?
vote recommendation.
Yeah, okay, very good. So we have a suggestion, we have on the recommendation of the full board. We have a second on it. We've come to a point where additional discussion probably is not going to happen. Clerk Prisraki, could you please read the suggestion one more time?
Moved by Commissioner Yu, seconded by Commissioner Peterson. Recommends the board that this addition be added. Any satisfactory combination of education, experience, and training can be substituted for the above. Public sector experience.
Right, all those in favor of adopting that addendum to the suggestion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? Aye. So that passes 3-2. All right, very good. We're making progress. Anything else, Commissioner Melner, that you would like to look at?
You know, this document's been out there for at least 13 years. And I think the experience in that was, in the education was one of our biggest hurdles.
In what way?
Everything else looks like it's good.
What do you mean right now?
Yeah, it was our biggest hurdle.
Okay, so that we have a suggestion to pass on to the full board. Is there any other discussion on this description, or can we move on to a discussion on the parks? None hearing, then we will move on to Commissioner Barron's addition to the agenda.
Well, we got job description, posting and advertising process.
Okay, so let me, very
Receiving
good.
applications, reviewing applications.
I thought we might want to wait till the fourth, but we can move on that tonight. Very good. Posting and advertising. Can we suggest? We can't mandate a vote, but do we need a vote to tell Ashley to start advertising?
Well, I guess we can't really do that until,
The fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't want to,
okay,
it's okay. I don't want to put the cart in front of the ox and get. Okay, process of receiving applications, we can,
Yeah, let's talk about that. Can we talk about that or not?
you can talk about anything you'd like. I mean, yes, we can talk about how we receive applications.
You want to explain what I emailed you? You remember what I emailed you?
No, I do not. So go ahead.
Well, if we have in-house people applying, I thought it would be fair if we secure the applications with, what did I say, the clerk? The clerk would receive them and secure them along with the board chair of the personnel committee.
personnel.
They would check and make sure they're secure until they're opened and brought to the commission. That's just to keep conflict of interest out of that process. Because I expect people in-house to apply for this. I don't know how many, but I expect some people in-house. And if it goes to the original department of, is it Tracy? That usually takes them, there's an opportunity for someone to not to do it, but to say that they got an advantage. That's all I'm saying.
I don't have any problem with the clerk accepting applications.
Nancy, usually the procedure is to go to the clerk, correct? So we're,
Oh, is it?
it's a moot point. It does go to the clerk.
Ashley, is that the procedure?
Yeah, I know the rest of my job. Rest goes to you, so we have to make it a point that it is, but in the past, it's been the clerk that's.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that.
You learn something new every day, and so, okay, so there's any other discussion on the receiving of the applications? Okay, the review of the applications and selection.
You wanna explain my email I sent
You
to
know,
you?
you're better man to do it than I. Go ahead.
I sent it to you because I thought you could be a spokesperson for
You
it.
know, I've been accused of stepping on you, so go ahead, please.
I like steering committees to help out. If we get a lot of applications, I thought we would have a committee of the board chair, the personnel chair, and a volunteer elected official in the county to screen the applications to the final number that we need. You get 100 applications and the board decides we want the top 10, the top 5. They just screen according to the qualifications. We would still have access to all of them as a whole commission. But we would have involvement with the community on a transparent way to do it. That would, I think, bridge a gap of healing our community and making sure everything's as transparent as possible. And I did send emails out to all the elected officials. And I do have a nice pool of candidates that would be proud to be randomly drawn to be on that committee.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yeah, if I may. When you were just telling what you were talking about, you said chairman of the board,
Chairman of the
the
county,
chairman of the finance, or of the
Right here.
personnel. And,
one elected official,
right, so that's,
a three committee member, 3 committees,
Okay.
3-person
so
committee.
that would put one of us on the board. Or,
What do you mean another one of us?
well, if it's an elected official. There's
No,
5
no.
of us here and.
Other
Nancy.
elected officials outside of a commissioner.
Okay, well, then that would leave Nancy at the,
No, there's a treasurer, there's
Oh,
like
okay,
11 or
yeah.
12. people.
Judges,
okay, I'm sorry.
no problem. Commissioner?
I guess we're doing a committee of the whole and we're looking at the interviews by the committee of the whole. I think we're in Escanaba. I think the city just went through this.
Help us.
I believe the city just went through getting a manager. And I don't think they went through all this. I think the commission itself reviewed it. We're doing a committee of the whole right as we're this evening. I believe the committee of the whole can review the applications and make the selection and narrow it down. If you have a large number of, and having worked on these things before, that number narrows down quickly when you look at your specifications. So what I've seen before is generally when they have the applicants for a job for these positions. It used to be, when I first started working with this, it was a relatively short resume. But as the years went by, quite often they write books. And I'm one that likes the brevity is the soul of wit and the cornerstone of intelligence. So I get really, when they get winded, it's winded. And so, but I've been through that before. I think we could, the committee is already sitting here as a committee of whole reviews. And I hear the word bandied about of transparency. I think we're under full X-ray vision in every meeting, so I heard transparency is pretty good.
Commissioner Melner, you look like your wheels are going.
No,
Okay, Commissioner View, do you have
Well, I agree with him 100%. I just feel this is a way. We have a lot of controversy with this board right now.
I noticed.
Why?
Depends on who you talk to.
I like involving the citizens of the community to help us out. Nothing is gonna be lost in this process. And in the end, all applications will be available to all the commissioners to look at any given time. And people are proud to help us to steer, they're gonna steer us a little bit, a little less pressure on us to go through this and argue for what? Another hour on all these applications, because we all have different biases and opinions that play into our decisions. You're always mostly a yes vote. He seems to be a no vote, and then we have a neutral party that's probably gonna be the deciding vote of somebody that's proud to come into this group and just look at them for us for a short period of time. If they gotta meet once or twice to go through them and say, well, here's what we figure are the top. Hopefully we get lots of them, top 10. Here's the bottom 90. They come to us, we can look at the top 10 and we can thumb through without a lot of discussion on the bottom 90. And if we find a gem in there that they might have missed, we can throw it into that pile. And I like community helping us out. I like the people. And they like helping.
If I may, though, in the committee that you just stated, it's all people within the county. I didn't hear anything about the community. I heard an elected official, the chairman,
Two commissioners, because
can't have three.
no, two commissioners, both people that are chairmans of personnel and the board. And I sent to the judges, I sent to treasurer, the clerk. You know, different people like that in the county that have a vested interest in making sure we get the best people that are gonna be running the county.
Right.
And these elected officials have no supervision power from our administrator because they're elected and mandated statutory. Their jobs are already described on what they do. So they're not gonna be biased one way or another. In my opinion, and I'm biased sometimes, you know, I'm trying not to be.
May I respond? Or you, I mean,
No, go ahead.
okay,
man.
as far as me being a yes vote, I guess it depends on what we're voting on. I've done this 5 times and we are put up here for this. We only really, we make policy and we can, you know, do budget. We have an employee, we evaluate that employee. I think I like your inclusivity. I like the fact that you want to include people. Every commissioner here has a vested interest under the fiduciary obligation of their oath of office to do what's best for the county. We may differ in that opinion, but I'm not going to say that any of you are wrong in what you know, if we cross blades on something, you're not wrong in doing what you think is right for the county. I don't want, we don't want to cast the vote or cast the net. We have, you know, hypothetically a 2-week time, we get those applications in here, we get together under a committee of the whole, the 5 of us. We select how many people we want to evaluate or interview, and then we go about it. That's the way we've always done it. It's always been transparent. Does it mean that everyone will agree with every one of the decisions made? No, it doesn't, but that's the democratic republic we have been elected to represent. And so, while I respect what you're saying, Commissioner, and I do, I think we have been put in office to make these decisions. We need to move ahead with it. And so that would be my suggestion, is that the board, like it's always done, get together in a committee of the whole, review the applications. Hypothetically, again, okay, we want to talk to 12 people. You know, we get 75 applications. I'm just throwing numbers out, guys. This board has the ability to make the right decision.
That's never in doubt. That's never gonna be lost. And to let you know, I've been through this hiring managers of a city. And it costs, when I was there, they were screened by a person and persons that cost us $15,000 to $20,000 because we used MML.
Mhm.
They're screened. The commission still did the finals on everything, and we still had access to every application. we're not eliminating none of our authority to pick the best administrator for this county. We're not eliminating any of that.
I never thought that we were.
Well, no, you said we're elected to do this. Well, we are going to be doing it. It has nothing to do with, it's just to save a little bit of time and get other people involved in something.
I've dealt with the Michigan Municipal League and I understand.
That's why we ain't doing it now, right?
Why we can agree to agree. On top of expensive, it's arduous. Anybody else? I mean,
What Commissioner Moyle has said is true. The three duties of a board are to write good policy, hire good people, and monitor performance.
thank you.
Commissioner Moyle is correct. He's summarized that the three duties of the board are to write good policy, hire good people, and monitor performance. And this is, and the most important individual that we put on is the administrator. And I think the deeper we're involved in it, the better it is, and all the way through the process. So I would like to make a motion that the review of applications and selection fall under the committee of the whole.
Okay.
I
We
would
have,
second that.
we have a motion to suggest to the full board. And a second to suggest for the full board, your motion again, please, Clerk Presraki.
But that the process for doing the application is done by the.
Okay. Any additional discussion, commissioners?
I disagree with
Okay.
the three purposes of a commission.
Okay.
Because it's finance, policy, and your constituents. That's what I was told. That's what I learned.
We have a motion. Let's go. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Present.
Okay. So that one will pass. The committee of the whole will select and review applications. And
That'll be passed on to the board as a suggestion.
that's part, yes, that is a suggestion to be passed on to the full board, that the committee of the whole will select and review applications. And last we have is the interview of the committee of the whole. Or is that in there? Okay, then we have everything to be passed on to the full board. Is there any additional discussion regarding the process of hiring the new administrator? Any part of it? Then none being seen, let's move on, please, to a discussion on the parks. That was Commissioner Barron, please.
Yes, we've been discussing hiring a manager for the parks to shadow.
Sorry, I should have caught that.
Okay, we've been discussing for months now, because we were notified in January about the situation with the Soil Conservation District. Well, that discussion has been about the looking at the job description for a manager for the parks. Well, that's making the assumption that the county is going to do the is going to take over the parks. Now, it also has come out that it's been talked about going to the private sector. Well, we continue down the route of getting a manager or getting someone to be a shadow manager at the parks this year. We haven't actually made a decision. So I believe what we need to do is make that decision of what direction we're going to go in, so that we're all together moving down that road. And that we can't make the decision here, but I think we should discuss the possibilities of the direction we want to go. But before we can do that, there has to be a question answered, which could be coming up for the next for the fourth, and that is due to and it's been put out there before, but we haven't gotten an answer on the county employee situation. Can the board enter into a private sector contract with an entity, a private sector entity? And we need to know the answers. Is that part of our labor agreements that we can or cannot? The Soil Conservation District was another government entity, so we can do that anytime. By going to the private sector, are we in any violation whatsoever? So that question needs to be asked. And I think that, that's why I said this would be short, because I think, the chair of the board as a whole can direct Ashley to look into this so we can have hopefully an answer for this. So we need to have the answer for this on the fourth,
April 4th.
April 4th.
So as I'm understanding it, gentlemen, can we authorize, would you support authorizing admin to find out prima facie, open and shut, black and white? Can we look at the private sector, or would that be in violation of any union contracts or agreements? Not saying we want to go one way or another. We're just looking at the option. Is that okay if Ashley checks into that?
I would move that.
What?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I would move that we have Ashley come back with that information for us, whether we can even go to the. private
Whether it's a
sector.
possibility or not.
Right.
Support.
Well, you know.
Motion,
we-
support, discussion, go ahead.
We've already been talking about getting our own person to run this,
Right.
and if I'm not mistaken, at our last meeting, we're talking about it, and then all of a sudden you're
We're not
saying
going,
that
okay.
there's a contract with Rory for the rest of the year.
May I respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay, as I understand it, the Soil Conservation District wanted us to come up with a contract by May 1/5 for them to run the parks for the rest of the year. But that's a totally separate issue, the way I understand this. And personally, whether the county, what direction it goes in the road, it's up to the county, this board, but we need to make sure that we don't step anywhere we shouldn't with the unions in the process of looking into it. That's all we're asking Ashley to do. The conservation contract will cover us for the rest of the year, getting the parks ready, facilitating the parks, shutting the parks down, and then helping us train that new parks manager, whether that parks manager is from the private sector or whether we hire that person on. That's our decision, but I think we're just asking for clarification for Ashley to take a look at this one issue. So it's not a preference on one way or another.
I would like to ask Bob if, I agree that we need to look and see if it's legal to do privately. There's no issue about that. Just let's find out. But in the meantime, doing that, I also would like to see what the expense costs of the county taking over too.
Oh, absolutely.
At the
Here,
same
here.
time, because.
That's a part of the argument, yeah, discussion.
No, we already know that you're gonna need a manager and probably a full-time person year-round with benefits, both of them, part-time help, different things like that. So how does that fit in our budget? What's it gonna cost us?
And I think Ashley has done research on this about a year ago.
Get off your phone.
Oh, let me take the message. I got people from the public chiming in. It's not gonna hurt anybody. Go ahead, please.
Okay, but I know she's done work on this, and she probably has.
Now, just get it to us.
Fine.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Rory had a lot of stuff to give. So there's a lot of information to.
Can you get the information as far as the unions? I mean, can you try to have that for us?
Private sector, because our maintenance department, our buildings are ground. And we went to the private sector before, so I know.
The clarification would be whether we, as a possibility of managing the parks, could go to a private sector company, or would that be in violation? Because of the conservation district being a governmental entity, it was not a violation whatsoever with the unions. But if we went to a private sector company, would that be a violation of our standing with the unions?
What about the ads in the newspaper for hiring, the state of Michigan and the road commission hiring roadside private people to do the parks, cutting the grass and that's the same thing, correct?
I don't know.
We don't know. That's why we
Yeah.
need to clarify that question. Then these discussions that we're bringing up here.
We can
Go
make a good
forward.
decision, yeah.
We're going down a road. I brought this up at the last board meeting. We're going down a path, but we haven't made a decision to go down that path. So let's regroup, get this question answered, and then have our
Well, we made a
discussion.
decision. It just, we didn't want to go that way.
Well,
We were heading towards taking it over under the county
And we still wouldn't be.
in a separate entity and with the maintenance department overseeing it all.
We had discussed that as
well,
an
we
option.
discussed it.
Well, we kind of
because
put that at the board.
What we've been going down the road for is looking at getting a shadow manager this year. And that's what I brought the point up. We haven't made this decision. We haven't made the decision that the maintenance is going to take care of it. That's all things that have been tossed out there. Let's clear this point out about whether we can or cannot. And then we can go into an actual full discussion. We've not had that. And that's what the point of this is.
Mr. Milner, look like your wheels are rolling.
You know, I just can't see letting somebody run the parks. We've already had that experience, and why pay that group what the county could do already and take the profit?
I don't think anybody's arguing that. We
Yep.
just,
We're looking at it.
We're trying to get this point cleared and then a discussion, what this is out of the way, then a discussion. If we can go in that direction. Private or public, then we can have that clear discussion and go deeper into this. Right now. It's hypothetical, whatever, which way that's all this is just get that
information.
information cleared up.
What a piggyback on that, we should have what it costs to run the parks over the last few
Oh, and-
years.
and we will.
But that
Okay.
will, in the discussion, when we know, when we sit down and discuss what direction we want to go in, that will be a part of that. But right now, we haven't had that. And this is clear this point out of the way, and then it'll give us those directions. If it comes back that we are in a situation where we have to keep it in-house, then that takes away in that direction. But
I mean, we're gonna have that information at the same time,
I don't know about the same time, but it's gonna come in shortly thereafter.
yeah, we've got. to
because
clear
you
up
can't
this-
make a decision till you see if how much revenue the park takes in compared to how much we give them. To see if Commissioner Melner's theory is that it'll make money for us. To keep the parks in excellent shape if it stays as a line item.
Okay, but we can go deeper into that, but I would suggest that we wait until we get this clarified. Because there's other factors that need to come in that will be in that discussion, and that'll be the 13 years ago, what was taking place. Because what you're talking about was 13 years ago, and that's why the changes took place. But we need to get this clarified. This, we can bang down this road right here, but we don't know if we can or not. right now.
So yeah, your point is totally taken. We need as much information as we can presented to us on all financial aspects of the parks. And I think this will just facilitate part of the argument. We're looking at all options and so there's no disagreement. I have a motion by Commissioner Peterson to suggest to administration that she moves expeditiously on it so we can have information for the 4th. And we can continue this conversation on the 4th. Do we have a second on that? I apologize. We have a discussion. Any additional discussion then? Okay, all those in favor of having Ashley suggesting to administration that she get as much information as she can on where the unions sit with the private sector possible running the park, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, that would pass. Please, by April 4, have something for us. And very good. And then we'll continue that brisk discussion. Thank you very much. Is there anything else regarding the parks to come before the commission? If not, we have general public comment. You have 3 minutes. We'll get you a microphone. Oh, you have a mic over there? Do you need this one? Here, Chris. There you go. You got to turn it on.
I'll breathe. Commissioner Berman. I find it very interesting that you know so much more than all of our neighboring counties. Michigan Works. And just all these people who have provided input, gathered data. But yet you seem to know exactly what the county needs to do, and whatever other county there is out there, they're all doing it wrong. And Michigan Works doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Well, I'm gonna use some words that Dave Moyle loves to use constantly. Your arrogance is duly noted.
Thank you. Anybody else, general public comment, please, on agenda items?
Joe Kaplan again.
Nice mic drop there. Joe Kaplan, I'm gonna pound this home. You talk about how much it's gonna cost to run the parks. You gotta hire people, you gotta do this, that, and the other thing. I want to know about the revenue since 2012. Because the last contract that the Conservation District has is they held the revenue generated by the parks in trust to be reinvested into the parks. Since they broke this contract, there has been no discussion about how much money that is. No one has asked Rory Matson at a meeting, hey, Rory, how much money is in that $1.5 million that sits in the Conservation District coffers? How much of that belongs to the taxpayers of Delta County for letting you run their parks for the last 12 years? That's a fundamental question that you should be asking someone that you have under contract for 12 years. How much money do you have that you're holding of mine? I've never heard any of you ask that question. What's that?
I wrote it down. I'm gonna ask.
Thank you so much. We've been trying to get the Conservation District's finances since last October. Section 9, Article 9, Section 23 of the Michigan Constitution that you all took an oath to defend. I took an oath too, because actually I took an oath to be on the Park and Rec Committee, even though now it's just an ad hoc to the O.B. Fuller lot, whatever. I took an oath, you took an oath under that Constitution. That is information that should be disclosed to us. It hasn't happened. We've asked for it under the Constitution. We've asked for it under FOIA. Since October, we've gotten bits and pieces of it. Let's just have a look at those books. It's a government agency. Those books should be open. We should be able to get a hold of that general ledger and then do a retrospective look of how much money those parks have generated that are being held in trust for the taxpayers by the Delta Conservation District. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else, please, general public comment. You get 3 minutes to address the board.
Again, at the several of the Board of Commissioners meetings, Nancy Penrocki has kindly asked the public to silence their phones. I believe everybody here has their phones silenced for the meeting, except for you, Chairman Moyle. You get to go and text on your phone throughout the meeting. You get to answer the public chiming in during these meetings. We have Zoom. We have Facebook Live. I didn't know that we could text you during a meeting and you would answer. So now I guess we know. So I would suggest to everybody that they look up Commissioner Moyle's cell phone on the Delta County website, and during meetings, text him, because that's the only way he'll respond to you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anybody else, please? General public comment.
You ready for Zoom?
Thank you, sir. Well, just flip it on.
Hi, my name is Gary Gustafson from Raft River. As far as the Coronel Forest is concerned, in the plan that was approved by the trust fund, those gates, the walking trails, those are supposed to be open for handicapped access. That is illegal to leave those blocked. There needs to be access around for personal mobility devices and such. Also, in the plan, there's supposed to be permanent deer blinds and 80-acre set-aside site for handicapped people and disabled people to hunt and have access to that property. That was part of the plan. It was never followed through with. Also, there is a parking That's supposed to be open year round. And it's supposed to be open in perpetuity to the public. And Truax Road is not plowed through the county forest. And if I want to get in there and try to use the forest, I believe I've got to park on the county road. That is not open to the public. That is not okay. The forest needs to remain open. Now, I know this county doesn't like to hear the word lawsuit, but they're gonna be hearing it a lot more if they don't start following the law. That's just the way it works. You're wondering why there's so many FOIA requests, why so many people don't like what's going on with the board. It's because you're not following the law. You're doing what you want to do, not what you're supposed to do. And you could go ahead and say Rory Matson is in charge of the conservation district and the county doesn't have anything to do with it. But the lawsuit's gonna be on the county. And a complaint with the civil rights commission, whoever it needs to go to for handicap access, they're gonna come back to the county. And you're not allowed to do business with the conservation district and operate a business for profit. The conservation district is a federally funded program. They get their money through MDR. And two government entities are not allowed to engage in business for profit, especially the conservation district that's right in their bylaws. They are not allowed to loan the county money. They're not allowed to use the county's credit card. They have no authority to do so. Rory Matson is a state elected official. He is not allowed to operate for-profit business. He's only supposed to be guiding the county in decisions. He's not supposed to be managing anything but the conservation district. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody else, please, in the audience for general public comment? Thank you. It's all right.
Sandy Sully from Ford River. And from what I've been hearing, you're wondering why there's controversy over the board. And I think a lot of it stems from there's no compromise between the 5 people that are on the board. Everybody just wants their way or no way. Like when you were talking about having a master's or a bachelor's degree, could you compromise and say you have to have a master's degree or you have to have more experience than a person with the master's degree? Maybe that's something you could talk about and just instead of having it black and white, maybe you could meet in the middle. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. General public comment, please, from the audience. General public comment before we move to Zoom. Anybody in the audience? Last call for general public comment, please. One more time, general public comment in the audience. All right, Brandon, we'll move to Zoom, please. If you are in Zoom land and wish to comment, we'd like to hear what you have to say.
Yes, please. Hello,
Go ahead.
my name is Teresa Ross, Ford River Township. Does the commission not care that many in the general public do not trust you as a direct result primarily of hiring a well-qualified administrator simply because she was concerned about your ethics? Mr. Moyle wants to joke about it with the comment, depends on who you ask. Ha ha ha. Commissioner View offered good suggestions, and you dismiss them because you claim it's always been done such and such way. You are not hearing the public you supposedly represent. Mr. View is trying to heal relations, and I, for one, appreciate him. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else on Zoom wishing to talk? Anybody else on Zoom wishing to talk? All right, very good. We will shut down general public comment, commissioners' concerns. Commissioner Peterson. None. Commissioner Melnar.
None.
Commissioner View.
Just one. I networked with a lady out of Oceana County, the administrator, on the veterans issues that's coming up to the board.
Yeah.
And she's going to be sending me a bunch of information. They do support the veterans service organizations and stuff. And she's gonna give me some information. What is that, an 1899 law?
The Public Act 214 is 1899.
Yep, they hired a lawyer to help us out. which is really unbelievable for me to know they're gonna do this. And give us the gist of everything that we need to do as a county, because most counties in the state of Michigan don't know anything about this. And they said there's a different thing that took the place of that law, that old, I don't know where we got the law from. And I'm gonna talk to the Veterans Service Organization, Dave.
Dave,
I don't know how to say his last name, but. And I'm gonna go find out a bunch of stuff on what we need for the county, how it's ran, what he does, about the veterans. And I'm gonna piecemeal this together with this attorney's opinion and then bring it back to the board so that we can service the vets the best way we can, like other counties. This lady who's the administrator of this county was an administrator of another county prior, and they didn't have any type of services for the vets. So I just want to let the public know that I'm doing my research. I'm gonna go out there and find exactly how we can service our vets the best way with the best resources and help Dave out.
thank you, sir. Commissioner Barron.
I don't have any further public comments.
I have no further public comments. You're invited to join us on April the 4th at the Service Center at 5 o'clock for the Commissioners Informational Workshop and regular meeting. With that being stated, motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
All right, all in favor, leave.